I'll start with this. Somewhere right now, someone is asking an AI who to hire, who to trust, who is the expert in their industry, and the AI is giving them a name. The question is it your name? And the funny thing is most people have never thought to check this, and the answer might surprise you, and I'll explain why in a moment, but first, a quick history lesson. Think about how people found businesses before the internet. Word of mouth, yellow pages, and if you don't know what yellow pages are, go ask an AI. But seriously, pre-internet, maybe you asked a neighbor, maybe you called a friend, you drove around until you saw a sign. Discovery was inherently local. It was slow, it was personal. And then, of course, the internet changed everything. Suddenly, you could have a website, you can have a presence, a global storefront. But of course, nobody knew you existed unless you showed up on Google. So a whole industry was born around one idea: to get ranked on the search engines. And then, of course, social media came into the picture, and the game shifted again. It wasn't just about ranking, it was about being followed, about being shared, about being recommended. All of a sudden, your network became your distribution. And now we are at the next shift. People are asking AI, Claude, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, and getting back a single answer. No list of links, no scrolling, just a verdict. Most people have a passive relationship with their digital reputation. Maybe you build a website once, set up a LinkedIn profile, and maybe write a few posts, and then hope that kind of internet forms the right opinion about you. And that worked fine when humans were doing the discovery, but AI doesn't give you the benefit of the doubt. It will read what is there and it will draw a conclusion. The question is whether you wrote that conclusion or whether you let it happen to you. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to audit your website and your profile for AI discoverability. And we'll be using Claude Cowork to do it. Let's get into it. Right, so here is our game plan today. First, we're going to talk about what has actually changed with AI and search and why it matters to you right now. And second, we'll cover some basic concepts that you need to know. Nothing scary, just new vocabulary for a new era. And third, the main event. We are actually going to run a live SEO and AI audit on a real website using Claude Code. And finally, we'll talk about what to do if you don't have a website at all, because honestly, that section might be the most important. Let's get into it. Now, if you don't know me, I'm Sunny. I'm a serial founder now on my fourth startup. I'm a former senior engineer at Bloomberg and Shopify, and currently an adjunct professor at Columbia Business School, where I teach tech and AI. Listen, I've been in this industry for over 15 years, well before AI. And my goal for this video, and really all my videos, is to help you make sense of this ever-evolving tech landscape, and also to make some of these AI tools more accessible for more people. Let's get started with our first step. So let's talk about what's actually going on here. For about 25 years, the game was simple. You built a website, you made sure Google could find it, people clicked through, and that's it. That was SEO, search engine optimization. You get ranked, you get clicks, and you're done. But here's the thing. The game has fundamentally changed. Studies now show that over 60% of informational searches end without the user clicking on a single link. They get their answers right there in the AI response. No click, no visit, just a verdict. So the new question isn't just, can Google find me? It's actually, when AI assembles an answer about my industry, about my expertise, about my business, am I being cited? Am I being mentioned? Do I even exist in the response? Now, this is what people are calling GEO, generative engine optimization, which is really just a fancy term for saying you're optimizing not for search rankings, but for being the source that AI trusts and cites. And GEO is genuinely different from SEO, not just a rename. The rules have changed. So I want to give you 3 things that make GEO different. So first, you need to structure your content for AI extraction, not just human reading. Here's something most people don't realize. When AI systems answer a question, they don't read an entire web page the way that a human does. They actually pull individual passages, specific chunks that answer the question directly. So the way you structure your content matters far more than how much of it you have. Think about it like this. If someone asks an AI, what's the best way to price a consulting engagement, for example, it's going to look for a passage that directly answers that, not a 2,000 word article that eventually gets there. So practically speaking, this means leading each section with a direct answer, and then you add your context. It means having very clear headings. It means building FAQ sections with crisp Q&A pairs that match how people actually ask these questions in an AI. Think of your content as a collection of self-contained citable blocks, not a flowing narrative. Okay, second, you need to give AI a reason to choose you over everyone else writing about the same thing. AI systems are selecting from a very small number of sources per response, usually 2 to 7. So you need to give them a reason to choose you over the 10 or so other people writing about the same topic. And the thing that earns citations is original authority. So things like proprietary data, first-hand expertise, research that nobody else has. Generic content that restates what everyone else has already said is going to be skipped. But if you publish something original, a case study from your own work, a data point from your own experience, a point of view nobody has articulated, that is what gets cited, and that is what makes you the source. Now, third, AI breaks big questions into smaller ones. You need content that answers all of them, not just the obvious ones. So here's something fascinating about how AI search actually works under the hood. So when someone asks an AI a complex question, it doesn't just paste that question into a search engine. It breaks the question down into smaller subqueries and searches for each one separately. So if someone asks, how do I market my consulting firm in 2026? The AI might decompose that into 5 separate searches: positioning, pricing, outreach, content, strategy, tools. And for each one, it's looking for the most authoritative standalone answer it can find. Now, what this actually means for you is that you need content that can independently answer each stage of that journey, not just top of funnel. What is consulting content? No, none of that. You need pieces that go deep in specific questions, and each one has to stand on its own as the definitive answer while pointing to related content in your ecosystem. So to sum this up, GEO is about structure, authority, and depth, not volume. All right, let's get to the live demo portion of this video. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a new Claude Cowork session, and we're gonna have that Cowork session essentially do an audit of an existing website. So I created this website in Lovable super quickly. This is a fictitious person. This is basically just your typical, consultant type website. So what I'm going to do is I'm first going to go ahead and create a new folder, and we'll call that GEO Audit. And from there, and this will be an empty folder. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Claude Cowork, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the folder that I just created. Okay, great. So now that we've set up the Claude Cowork session, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to paste a pre-prepared prompt that I've prepared, which I will share with you in the links below, and that will do the audit. Before I paste in the prompt, I want to tell you what we're actually going to get back, because this isn't just going to be one single output. The prompt I put together is going to produce 3 different deliverables. First, it will produce a GEO audit scorecard. That's a scored breakdown of how the site performs across 3 principles that I will talk about in a moment. The second thing it will do is it will go over the competitor gap analysis. So Cowork is going to go out there, find real competing sites that rank well, and benchmark this site against them. That part alone, by the way, is something that SEO agencies took days to produce. And third, a set of rewrite recommendations. This is the most important thing, actual before and after suggestions for the content that needs fixing. All right, so let me go ahead and paste that prompt in here. So you can see here, we're doing a full GEO process. It's sharing some of the principles that we talked about. So if I hit search, then what I'm going to do is it will ask me for the link to the website. So let me paste that in here and let's see what she comes up with. All right, so Claude Cowork is still working, but it has completed 2 of the 3 deliverables that I wanted. So let's start reviewing some of these deliverables. So the first thing is this GEO audit scorecard. So this is just what's actually doing the audit. So you can see that we have those 3 principles that I outlined earlier in the call and kind of scoring it. So clearly this website is pretty bad. Kind of showing what's working, what's broken, some of the fixes. So this is really, really rich information that we can then go and action and, optimize our website. It also has done a competitor gap analysis. So it looked at the top most GEO optimized competitors in the space, and it went through everything, found where we're falling behind, where the opportunities are. And finally, the third deliverable, which just got done, is the actual rewrite recommendations. So this is the most important thing. I can review all of this, determine which ones I want, and then actually make those updates where I see fit. Cool. So this is the kind of amazing thing that we can do with all of this, which is really awesome. This is something that an SEO agency would have taken days, if not weeks, to produce. We were able to produce this in 10 minutes. Awesome. Now, I want to call something out here, specifically about why Claude Cowork is particularly good for this kind of exercise. So this isn't supposed to be a one and done audit. You want to think of your folder here as kind of like a workspace that you can come back to from time to time. Maybe you want to run this again next month. Maybe you want to reevaluate after the changes you've made and you can just give it the updated read. What's great is that this conversation persists. The context will build because these are now files that have been generated. And this kind of becomes your ongoing GEO command center, not just a one-time report. And that is the real power of working with an agentic workspace versus just using a tool. So we have completed our GEO audit. Before we move on to our next portion of the video, I want to make this larger point. For most of the internet era, your digital reputation was something that kind of happened to you. You showed up, you posted, and the algorithm decided what to do with it. AI now changes that equation. For the first time, you can actually brief the system directly. You can tell AI exactly who you are, what you do, and why you're credible. But here is the thing. Almost nobody is doing that right now. Most people are still in that passive mode, hoping for the right picture to assemble itself. And AI will not give you the benefit of the doubt. It will read what's there and it will draw a conclusion. So the question isn't whether the models have an opinion about you. It already does. The question is whether you shaped it or not. And that is the single most important lesson I want you to take away from this video. All right, so moving on, I know that some of you may not even have a website. So this portion of the video is for you. There has never been an easier time to spin up a website, either for yourself or for your business. The tools that we now have access to can literally get you up and running in an afternoon. And here is how I want you to think about it. A website at its core is simply a structured document that you have written to represent yourself to the world. That's it. The reason it matters for the AI is that it's one of the clearest, most organized signals about you, who you are, and what you do. But AI is not just reading websites, of course. It's also reading things like LinkedIn profiles, Medium posts, Reddit comments, Substack newsletters, quoted interviews, of course. Anywhere your name shows up and your ideas show up on the internet, that is your footprint. So if you don't have a website and you aren't feeling inspired to create one, the good news is that this audit framework that we've done, that we just walked through, still applies. You just run it against a different asset. So instead of a website, maybe a LinkedIn profile. So here are 3 things that you can do right now today without a website. So first, treat your LinkedIn profile like a website. Write a strong headline and about section with clear, specific language about what you do and who you are and how you help. AI systems index LinkedIn heavily in many instances, so that profile is definitely being read by a model. Second, I want you to create a few authoritative pieces of content somewhere. Doesn't have to be a blog. It could be Substack, it could be LinkedIn, it could be a Medium post, something with depth, something with your name on it that demonstrates expertise. AI systems favor sources that show topical authority. They want to cite people who have written thoroughly about a subject, not just once. And third, build your citation footprint. Get your name, your company, your expertise mentioned in a few places that have authority. And look, I know that may sound like a lot. It doesn't have to be. One really good LinkedIn article a month plus an active LinkedIn profile gets you further than you think. All right, let's bring this all together and recap. So the internet has changed again. AI is now the front door, and the way you show up in AI answers is different from the way you ranked on Google. It's not about clicks anymore. It's about being cited, about being trusted, being the source. And GEO, generative engine optimization, is the new skill set. Structure your content for AI extraction, build original authority worth citing, and map your content to the full query journey. These 3 things will put you ahead of the vast majority of websites out there right now. So here is your homework. I want you to open Claude Cowork, put in your URL or your LinkedIn URL if that's your main digital presence, and run the same audit that I just ran. Use the prompt that I will link to in the description below and see what it finds. Then pick one thing from that list and fix it. This week, just one. Start with unblocking AI crawlers if that comes up, or restructure your about page. It could really be anything. And certainly drop it in the comments below or tag me on LinkedIn or Twitter to indicate what has come up. All right, so if you have stuck around till the end of this video, I appreciate you. I will see you on the next one.